Hey guys, Ben here with Oddly Armed, and today we're going to be taking a look at a disassembly of the PWS UXR. So I haven't seen a ton of information out there about this, so hoping to get a little bit of a closer look at the internals, give people a bit of a better idea of what they're dealing with this rifle. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started by popping out our magazine here, our 20 round Magpul magazine. And then if we look at the back of the receiver here, this is going to be our receiver pin that we have to pop out for the next stage of the disassembly. That's going to come out this side, so you can kind of see that it looks like there's a little bit of a cutout there. There is a dimple for a bullet tip, but yeah, that cutout is meant to be there. It looks a little weird, but it is completely normal. So we'll go ahead and take a cartridge case, press that in. Then on the other side of the receiver, go ahead and pull that through until it pops. And then the entire back part of the receiver will pop off of the rifle. And we'll go ahead and take a quick look at this. So if you look at the side, we have our safety selectors here, ambidextrous, and then there is our AR trigger group, and that's our trigger tech trigger in there. So we can actually go ahead and very easily pop out the trigger group, and that's by pressing this button in here and then lifting up on the safety selector on either side, wiggling a little bit, your safety selector will actually pop out. Then we come up on the other side, and this will take out the rest of the selector here. And that'll actually free up the trigger group to just pop straight out the top of the lower receiver. Now you can see this is kind of set up like an AR-15 receiver as far as like the external dimensions go. So you can see the trigger tech trigger pack inside of there actually nested in there. So you can pop that out and then put in a Geisley trigger or really whatever you want in there. I haven't tested it with other triggers, but that's what their literature says. So coming back to the lower receiver, isn't a whole lot to see there after that. We just have our pistol grip and then the rear of the stock here. And then give you a look at our stock and the adjustments on there and the folding mechanism. And then again, you can take the actual stock off and there is a Picatinny rail underneath there. But that's really all there is to do for disassembly with the lower. And back to the upper receiver here. The next step is going to be removing our magazine well, which is really easy. You just pull back and it just pops off the back here. So you can see our bolt release is actually integral into the magazine well here. And this is the 308 version. There's also the 556 one, which works for 300 black as well. And it's the 308's delineated by a single divot there in the magazine release. Now coming back to our receiver here, next step is going to be bringing out our mainspring, and that's actually going to be a little plate here in the back of the receiver. So we press that in, pull it down, and then it'll release it, and that'll slide out the back of the receiver. It's not captured, and then that's a good look at our rod there as well as the spring. And then the rod is actually conveniently marked with a BTM, so that goes down towards the bottom of the receiver when you remove it. And then the next step is simply taking our bolt carrier and pulling it out the back of the rifle. So that'll just go ahead and pop out there. So just taking a look at our bolt carrier group, this is actually an AR-18, AR-180 style one. So you can see our cam track there, as well as our firing pin in the back. This is actually a little spring-loaded buffer kind of system, so it doesn't bottom out on the back of the receiver. But yeah, so next step here in the disassembly process is going to be taking out our firing pin retaining pin back here in the back of the bolt carrier group. And it is captive, so we just press that in, and then it's going to pop out the other side, and just want to hold it to make sure the firing pin doesn't go shooting out the back. So our firing pin will come out along with the firing pin spring. Then it comes out just like an AR-15. We just turn it over here, pop out our cam pin, and then the AR-180 style bolt will come out the front. And you can see right there, it is marked for 308 Winchester. So of course, for caliber conversions, if you go to 556 or something else, you're going to need a different bolt for that. And that just leaves our bolt carrier group here. And that's basically all you need to do to field strip the bolt carrier group. And the next thing that we're going to do is take off the handguard. So we have another captive pin here in the front. So we're going to go ahead and hit that with a round again until that pops out. Pull that free. And then the handguard just slides easily off the front of the rifle. It's going to be, well, I got to pop off my pressure pad here. And that's going to come straight off. So you can see our M-LOK handguard there. Set that aside. And then we have our barrel fully exposed. There is that bore evacuator that I was talking about earlier in the other video. So you can get a kind of a look at that. We're not going to be able to take that off of the rifle, but you can see it's basically a big expansion chamber attached to the barrel in front of the gas plug. All right, so these are the 3 screws that maintain pressure on the trunnion and hold the barrel in the receiver. So to remove the barrel, all we have to do is loosen these 3 bolts. I believe it's around 2 turns is what they say in their literature on how much you need to do this to actually remove. This last one's a little bit tight, the barrel, but you can kind of feel when it starts to let loose a little bit there, and then our barrel will just pull straight out the front of the receiver. And that's a good look there. It comes out with the piston rod. So this uses what PWS calls a modified long stroke gas piston system, which is a little bit weird to me because this just looks like a short stroke gas piston. But speaking to them and one of their engineers describing exactly how it works, the bolt carrier group is actually connected directly. It's actually locked into the gas piston through the trunnion. So inside of the trunnion, you can't really see it because it's buried up on top of it in this area where you can't see it at all. But it actually connects directly to this part of the bolt carrier group and locks in. So it is completely locked with the gas block when it recoils at first. And then when the bolt becomes fully unlocked, it releases this part of the gas piston to stay up front while the rest of the bolt carrier group and everything else continues moving back. So there isn't really anything else we need to do with the upper receiver to disassemble. I just want to give you guys a look inside of it. So you can see there are 2 rails. I think they're steel, but you can see there are holes drilled in them and it's lightened there. And that's what the bolt carrier group rides on in the receiver. So those are likely steel. I'm not 100% on that. But the receiver itself, I think, is extruded aluminum. And then you can see up into our trunnion there. And that, I'm pretty sure, is a titanium trunnion. So that's where it actually gets a little bit lighter than some other rifles that use a steel trunnion. And I do have our charging handle still in here. Again, I'm not 100% sure on how you move this from the left side to the right side, so I'm not really going to include that in this video. But just taking a look, you can see what that slides on a little sled there. And then, yep, that's pretty much all there is to see with the receiver itself. You can just see on the outside the screws which hold in those rails on the inside of the receiver. And the last and kind of most difficult part of disassembling the UXR is going to be the gas piston up here. And you can see this is how you adjust it. So it's almost like a swinging axe here at the bottom that goes from side to side. And that's how you go from adverse to normal and then over to suppressed. Now we have to remove this to get at the piston here. And to do that, it is incredibly awkward. There's a little detent on the inside here, and what we need to do is press that in and then rotate the axe part of it, and this is going to slide off the top, so that's its own separate part there. And then down here you can just pull out the back, our kind of gas block piston assembly, and you can see our 3 gas settings there in it. So you got our suppressed, our normal, and then the largest one there is going to be adverse. And that's basically how you take this part out to clean it. Alright guys, and that is the PWS UXR fully disassembled. As you can see, it actually has quite a few different parts to it, but it's not too bad to take down overall. So thank you guys for checking out this video. Please check out my first range trip with the UXR, and I'm hoping to come out with some more videos down the line with it once I get a bit more testing done with it. So please stick around, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff, and I appreciate you guys tuning in today.